Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking about the Raid Boss Revival event. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the drop list from the different monsters you'll be able to fight. We're going to talk about a farming guide if you want to prioritize where you're going to be spending your time. We're also going to be talking about priority gear. If you're a new player, which gear is going to be best for you? And then, of course, if you're a new player and you still want to learn about the other gear that's available, we'll be talking about that as well, just so that you have all of the information that you need. Let's go ahead and dig in. All right, so first and foremost, you do have to know what drops from who. And you're gonna have the chocolate flan that's gonna be dropping, blissful memories and, joyful hearts and all of that. You'll notice the flan does overlap with the bone for white marshmallow as well. White marshmallow and Behemoth King basically overlap with spirit sand drops. The big difference is Behemoth King is going to drop ice alcryst or ice mega crysts as they're called as well. Basically, you're going to be farming Behemoth King if you are going to want to farm for Laswell's Purple Lightning. That's pretty much the only reason you would farm Behemoth over, say, White Marshmallow, because if you farm the White Marshmallow, you could do like Platinum Robe as well or something. Behemoth King right now is pretty much only if you would want to farm Purple Lightning. Ifrit is a little unique because he's the only kind of raid boss revived that is going to drop some significant items here. And so a lot of the popular items are going to be farmed from Ifrit too. So basically, you're going to kind of almost be guaranteed to be farming Ifrit. Coming down here, let's go ahead and talk about what items are coming from which bosses, because that's really important as well. The items don't drop, but the items to enhance and awaken do drop, which is what we just talked about with the drops. So it is really important to know, especially since you require so many of the materials to +5 these items, it is important to know which boss to farm to get the raid tokens and to get the right materials for the piece of gear you want to level. So if you want to farm Chocolate Flan, that's going to be really for Alexandrite Ring. It's going to be for the Chocolate Flan earrings, it's going to be for Galmia Cloak, and it's going to be for Soul of Thalmassa. Now, another really important thing to understand is that not all of the raid bosses are going to drop all the items that you need. For example, Galmia Cloak is going to require white mega crysts. Soul of Thalmassa is going to need Earth Mega Crysts and Zoobeaks. And, you'll see down here, Brigandine needs Zoobeaks as well, but you can acquire those in other means right now, but you may have to make sure, to keep an eye out for these Mega Crysts in the future, or potentially get them with the other events or the secondary raid boss revival that comes out in the near future. If you're going to be farming Behemoth King, you're going to want to go for the Elf's Cloak, Purple Lightning, or White Miniature Marshmallow. White Marshmallow is, of course, going to be Elf Cloak, Platinum Robe, and White Marshmallow as well. So again, Behemoth King and White Marshmallow, very similar for items to farm. The difference is basically Purple Lightning and Platinum Robe. What'll probably come down if you are farming White Marshmallow Miniatures or Elf's Cloak, you'll probably look at which one's easier to kill for you, especially if you're able to solo some of them in multis. Ifrit's going to drop the Bale Bergenet, but probably more importantly, he's going to be dropping the materials for Brigandine, and he will be dropping the materials for Defense Bracer. Now, you will need the Zoobeaks for Brigandine, you will need Water Mega Crysts, and you will need Ahriman's Tears for Defense Bracer, so keep that in mind. I would say these two items are pretty much two of the hottest items that people will want to farm. Knight Armor also drops for Ifrit, but you're going to need White Mega Cryst, and you're going to need Wolf's Fangs for these. Again, Wolf's Fangs, Ahriman's Tears, Zoobeak, these are all farmed from the main story. It's going to be the Elemental Mega Cryst that you're going to struggle finding a bit. And then, of course, Platinum Helm is going to be from Ifrit as well. Important note for any of you who do not have Rain's Sword yet, we do have a tower event coming next week as well. And the materials that Ifrit drops are used in awakening and maxing out Rain's Sword. So you may, if you're a newer player and you plan on having Rain and you want to get Rain's Sword, you may want to farm Ifrit just for these materials so that it is easier to level up Rain's Sword. Now, if you are also a new player, there's some priority gear that you're going to want to get. And we're going to go over this one by one right now and kind of talk about why it's important. Galmia Cloak is going to give magic plus 30, which is a very powerful buff in your armor slot for mages. It's arguably the most powerful buff in the game for mages that you could put on a piece of gear. If you don't need status ailment resistance, Galmia Cloak is going to significantly increase your damage. Brigandine is going to give area resist plus 10. If you have a unit that can equip a Brigandine and you don't need to worry about, you know, status ailment debuffs or anything like that, area resist is probably the most powerful defensive utility you could give a character in the game currently, just because Black Rose Helena is very dominant. You have other units like Dwayne, you have King Mont, you have so many units that are area of effect oriented that it's going to be almost universally useful for the characters that can equip it. Soul of Dalmassa is almost as good as Galmia Cloak, I would say. And there's a couple things about Soul of Dalmassa that are unique that makes it worth having. Soul of Dalmassa is going to have silence resistance, which is one of the only pieces of gear, it is the only piece of gear in the game that gives silence resistance. So there are situations when you're in PvE content where enemies are going to be silencing and you have to have Soul of Dalmassa for your mages. It's not a like, oh, it would be nice to have it. It's a, you have to have Soul of Dalmassa. If you're a new player and maybe you can't grind out a bunch of Soul of Dalmassas right now, make sure to grab at least 2 recipes for this or 3 recipes. Make some +0s max awakened so that you can have the silence resistance. Because arguably in PvE, there are times where having that status ailment resistance is more important than having the +5 version with magic resist and magic resistance penetration. Now, Soul of Dalmassa also has magic resistance +8 and magic resistance penetration +10, which makes it an incredible piece of gear for magic characters. Purple Lightning is very similar to Soul of Dalmassa. When it's +5, Purple Lightning is going to have slash attack +20. Any other time when it's max awakened or when it's at level 50, it will have ice attack +30. That means if you're a newer player with Laswell, having a +0 level 50 Purple Lightning will be more powerful than any other great katana in the game. Again, if you can't +5 it, that's okay. Just having a Purple Lightning right now will help you out with your Laswell. So if you are someone who's leveling Laswell, you know, lots going on with Laswell right now, make sure you get at least 1 recipe for Purple Lightning and you max level it so that it does have that ice attack +30. Elf's Cloak has pierce resist +10 and confusion resistance. This is going to overlap a little bit with the White Marshmallow Miniature because White Marshmallow Miniature has so many status ailment resistances on it. I personally like the Elf's Cloak because it's a little more defensive than the White Marshmallow Miniature. I do think it's worth having multiple copies of the Elf's Cloak or the White Marshmallow Miniature for confusion resistance because you will run into monsters that will confuse you. I mean, the status ailment resistances that you can get from these raid items is like literally that is one of the main reasons to get some of these gear. And you do not have to have the +5 version of the gear in order to get the kind of benefits that you would expect, right? Or to get the ailment resistances. You know, that's not why you do it. You could get the +0 version and you will still have the resistances. So very important to get these, especially for new players, because they are going to offer status ailment resistances, right? White Marshmallow also gives accuracy +20 at level 50. Chocolate Flan Earrings, again, that status ailment resistance, you know, they give stun resist +25. The only piece of gear in the game that gives stun resistance. Get a few recipes of these, +0, max level them. You never know when you're going to need this. And finally, probably the most relevant, you know, player versus player piece of gear right now from raid would be the defense bracer, of course, with the dominance of Dwayne, with the dominance of disable in PvP or in guild battles. Being able to have disable resistance is very important. Being able to have missile resistance plus 25 for 3 turns at the start of battle is very vital when you do have this at +5. I mean, think about the amount of Clouds and Frederikas that are running around right now. This alone will knock that damage that you're going to receive from them quite significantly. So overall, a lot of these are really good pieces of gear. If you are a new player, you should at least be getting 3 to 5 copies of the +0 version of these gears that have status ailment resistances on them, because you will need them in PvE content in the future, and guaranteed you will need them in the future. We do have some other pieces of gear though that are a little bit less important, I would say. We have, you know, Alexandrite Ring, which has the highest accuracy in the game. It also gives elemental resist +5. You know, pretty good, universally great piece of gear. You know, not the most important piece of gear, but there are times where you need accuracy, and if you have an aim version of the Alexandrite Ring, it's going to work for you. Platinum Robe with missile resistance +10. When I was a newer player, I had like 5 +0 Platinum Robes, because Platinum Robe offered such high defense for mages back in the day. Nowadays, though, there are lots of alternatives to the Platinum Robe with high defense. The missile resistance +10 is still viable, it's still useful, but I don't think I'll be spending my time farming for a Platinum Robe. Bale Bergenet, you could make an argument that this is going to be more important than Defense Bracer in the future, just because it has Pierce resistance +10, and there is a Pierce meta coming when Oberon gets here, when Aranea gets here. There will be a lot more of a Pierce meta, and then you still have that disable resistance for Dwayne's. Again, though, that's very PvP specific, very guild battle specific. So if that's what interests you, Bale Bergenet could be good. Knight Armor, magic resistance +10. Universally, it's good. Do you need like 50 of these? No. Platinum Helmet's kind of the same way. Slash resistance +10. You know, great. You know, it's not must have, must need right now piece of gear. It's definitely kind of a luxury farm in order to get that. That's basically all of the gear that you can farm and that you can farm for. I would say, you know, for me, if I was a new player and I had absolutely nothing, I would probably prioritize, you know, white marshmallow miniatures. I would probably go for elf's cloaks. I would probably go for brigandine. Defense bracer would probably be the top 4. If I had mages, definitely go for Galmia cloak and soul of Dalmassa. Anyway, everybody, I hope this guide helped you. If you have questions, please put them down in the comments below and I will respond. If you want to support me, you can become a YouTube member. It's down in the description down below, or you can donate to me directly or use my dig.gs/coins affiliate link. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great rest of your day.